Hey everyone, welcome to podcast number 6. My name is Ray Ruiz, owner and founder of Baztec. Thank you for being with us today. And today, man, I always say this because we always have awesome guests on, but today, man, I got my homie, my community partner, a good friend. Before I introduce you, I want to give a shout out to the folks that make this possible. Start with our all our community partners. Shell's Brewing Company, big shout out to them. And today we are drinking a new Shell's beer, Northland Gold.
It's good.
Dude, this is fantastic.
It's good.
It's not out on the market yet. This is brand new beer. Joe Falkowski from the brewery, Scott Hislop, Tommy Mega, and those guys. They were like, "Hey Ray, here's this new beer we got. Check it out." And I was like, "Awesome! I'll introduce it in my podcast when we do it today." So this is really good beer. So I'm glad I got a bunch of it for us today.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
Yeah, man. So shout out to Shells. Their awesome new beer. Again, Northland Gold. As soon as it comes out on the market, go get you a 6-pack, 12-pack case of this. It's fantastic beer. Blackfish. Big shout out to Blackfish. They're one of our community supporters and sponsors. Kindbird Realty, my buddy Jason Brown. If you are in the market of buying a home, if you want a business, he's your guy. He does commercial and residential. We get a lot of inquiries about him, and he's an awesome guy. His information is right here below. So please give him a call or email him. And events, we do have one event with our good friend and community partner, J.R. Hunt from the Sierra Club. We have a BIPOC fishing event this Saturday. It's going to be fun. It's going to be fun, man. Lake Harriet from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. No license required, no equipment. Baztec, we bring everything, just like we always do at our events. It's to come in, have a great time. It's going to be a lot of fun. So without further ado, I want to introduce my homie, man, Rick Geislinger from the Geislinger Farmers Agency. Thanks for being here, man.
Hey, it's great being here. I wanna extend something here. I went to a few of your things with the kids fishing, and
Yeah.
I tell you what, man, it was awesome because you get the kids out there, they're having a great time, and they're actually sometimes catching fish, and they're learning how. And when I first went, I didn't know how to go about, but when I see how these kids interact to it and how much they get into it, I was real surprised, and it's really fun. I'm glad I'm a part of it.
Yeah, well, thank you, man. And for folks that don't know Rick or Ricky, I call him Rick, so other folks call you Ricky. He's been my insurance guy for a long time, and folks out there are going to be like, man, Ray has an insurance guy on his show? What does insurance have to do with fishing? And everything. And we're going to get into that because this is very relevant for folks in the community because a lot of our communities of color are unaware. And you're here today, Rick, and thank you for being here to build awareness, build capacity, build education through insurance. So we'll get into that. But before that, to your point, to amplify that point further, you've been a great community partner of ours. Rick has gone to a lot of our events, has bought us fishing rods to give away, swag. He's there with the kids, getting his hands slimy from fish. I mean, he's part of the community, and he's. I will say this: he's not the character in that movie Groundhog's Day with the insurance guy. Remember the insurance guy? Bill Murray's walking. He's like, "Hey, how you doing, buddy? I bet you know what you need. You need a little bit more insurance. And next thing you know, Bill Murray just gives him a right hand and like, dude, leave me alone. I'm here to say that, Rick, God bless you. You're not that guy. You're a community member. You are part of our family, a part of our team. And when folks have questions, you are very gracious and educating folks. So that's the reason, one of the many reasons you're here, and you wanted to be here to share your passion and knowledge of helping people. So thank you.
Yeah, that's correct, and I really appreciate that. And I'm really out there to I'm really out there to help. And not only, I mean, some people get intimidated by insurance agents. They want to know all this information,
Yeah.
all that stuff. And I just, as you know, Ray, I just go with the flow. I'll ask questions, easy questions. Let's make it simple. And I kind of get a feel of your, if you're interested, great. If you're not, that's okay too.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So for folks that are going to be there's going to be quite a few folks watching this. they're gonna be curious. They're gonna ask? How did these guys know each other? How does Ray know Rick? Rick know Ray? How did we connect? Do you want to get into that, Rick?
Yeah, I think I bought an agency with farmers,
Some years
and
ago.
Ray was one of my customers.
Hmm.
And we started. What I like to do is like to know my customer, know
Yeah.
who they are, what they're doing, what's all going on. So by asking you many questions, finding out what you do, and I like the fact what you're into now with the Baztec,
Yeah.
and I like fishing. We'll get more into that, but
All right.
yeah, and it started to grow into a relationship where we
Hmm.
kind of bond together. We're kind of as your girlfriend Diane said, you guys are the same. You know,
Yeah.
it's,
Right.
it's
Right.
but all together, I think we bind it together because we both had the same attitude. As I wasn't too pushy, but yet when you have questions, I'd answer it. Like with your boat, you had an example. You said, "Hey, look, man, I'm adding a mortar. I'm going to add more stuff in here. What do I need to do?" And we made it very simplified. And I gave you the quote, how much it would cost, and we figured out what was the best way, the best quote,
Hmm.
and we went forward. And hopefully, and I think you've learned something from it, and I learned something from you, and that's what it should be.
Yeah. No, I appreciate you sharing that. Yeah, we go way back, man. Quite a few years back, and I do remember when we first met. You called me, and you're like, "Hey, Ray, this is Rick, man. I think it was like one of my policy was like renewing, and you just wanted to go over a few things. It was just kind of like, hey, how you doing? And this is what's happening. Nothing major.
Yeah.
And then we started talking, and you were asking me, hey, so hey, man, are you still working here? And I'm like, oh no, I started a company. And you're like, oh, what do you do now? And that's when I said, oh, I started my own business, Baztec Fishing, and we do community outreach events. We do podcasts, we do product reviews, we do content, and you're like, oh, cool. And then I think you asked me about events,
Yeah.
and then you started coming to the events. You're like, hey man, do you mind if I come and like help? I think you said, if I remember you clearly, you said you wanted to volunteer
Yeah.
because you grew up fishing, and I was like, dude, yeah, man, let's do it. So that's kind of how it all started, some years back. So it's been awesome, man. It's been great, bro. So I appreciate you being a friend and beyond just an insurance agent. You've been a friend, a colleague, a community partner. So it's been awesome, man. We really appreciate you being here. So
Yeah, I appreciate it and I enjoy it.
yeah,
Enjoy
it's
being
it's
there.
fun, man. It's fun. So Rick, I ask everyone this question, and people that are watching, Ray's gonna ask the question. How did you get started in fishing? Tell us your journey. How did you get started?
Right around the age, I believe it was about 10 years old, my parents bought a place out by a lake. So I grew up on a lake.
Oh wow,
And it was a pretty decent fishing lake. So I guess when you grow up one, you have no choice, right?
right, right.
So, and I started doing it like any kid, and I enjoyed it. I liked it. It was a good pastime.
Mm.
Um, so I don't do it as much as I used to. And winter fish is a lot of fun too.
You have ice fishing?
Ice fishing,
Yeah,
like
man.
to do that too. So yeah, not as much as I used to, but I still enjoy it.
Oh, cool. So did your dad, your brothers and like you guys all like fish together? Like do you have any like crazy fishing stories? Like I have a bunch. I could stay here all night and talk about that stuff, but I'm curious about like your journey and your crazy fishing stories, man.
Oh, I've got a bunch of them, but the main one is, and if my brother's here, they'll still laugh. We played baseball together for many years
Yeah.
also, so we would compete while we're on the boat,
Oh,
literally fishing.
really?
It was who could catch the most, the biggest.
Really?
Oh yeah, it was good competition, but
Oh, healthy?
hell, it was
Healthy
healthy.
competition.
It was
Okay.
healthy.
Did your brother kick your butt or you kicked your
Oh
brother's butt or
no,
was
those guys didn't have a chance. No, no, I'm kidding. No, we all had fun with it. But as we did, you know how it is. It's something that it's relaxing. You just kick back. I'm the type, if they bite, they bite. If they don't, they don't.
yeah.
I used to do a lot of spearing in my day too.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
um,
Yeah.
where you have to have patience. So I have that too with fishing. You got to have patience,
You
right?
gotta have patience, man, that's for sure.
So you can
Yeah.
kick back, have a few brews, and if they bite, they bite. If they don't, they don't.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. That's super cool. It's always interesting people's journey, excuse me, their journey their fishing journey and how they develop their skill set. Um, how like for you, you grew up on a lake. I grew up near a lake. I grew up in Chicago, Lake Michigan. It was just a few miles from my house, so I got to fish that all the time. Some other lagoons and lakes in the area, the Chicago River, we fish that a lot. So it's really cool, like to listen to people's stories and listen to how their journey, like how they experience fishing and like just listening to them, like what they went through, the funny stuff, the crazy stuff. It's really cool, man. So I appreciate you sharing that.
A lot of good stories.
Yeah, no, for sure. So, dude, I have so many questions that I want to ask you, and I guess for our communities of color and they're underserved and underrepresented, a lot of folks get very curious. They ask me, Ray, would you recommend me buying a boat? Or they want to buy a boat. They want to buy a pontoon or a small boat, something. And which is great. So much fun. Like there's an old saying, there's life is much better on a boat.
Yeah,
You know what I
true.
mean?
It's true.
And but what people don't know is how to go about, like it's easy. You see a pretty boat, man, that's the one. I want to buy it. But guess what you need? You need to talk to a guy like you about insurance because you need to protect that asset. You
That's
need
exactly right.
you need to protect that asset, and it's incredibly important. So for the folks out there who are watching, Rick, what are we'll keep because one of the things I love about one of the many things I love about you, the way you do business in the community is you keep things very simple and you're very engaging. Um, you give people you always listen to people's needs. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When people if they're curious about or interested in buying a boat and they want to insure it, what do they need to get a quote from you? What does it all entail?
The easiest way to keep it simple is when you buy that boat with your receipt. A lot of times it'll have the VIN number on there already.
Correct.
It'll have the serial number, and then you'll have how much you paid. Those are the three things you basically need to know because
That's
you
it,
need to
huh?
know how much you're insured for.
Hmm.
And then there are a few other questions, but once I have those things, I can actually get you the quote. And then what I do is I go through everything during the quote because there's never a right or wrong answer. What's more affordable to you, what isn't affordable to you, that's more important to me. So I like to give just a broad easy quote and then we go over it, and as it's not very difficult, but there are some things you need to know. Whether you want, let's just say your boat's worth 10 grand.
Hmm.
Okay, do you want it if something happens for replacement costs? Replacement cost is what it's worth right now. Or do you want actual cash value where they take the depreciation off?
Mm.
And
Talk about
that's
that.
cost, big
So
difference.
talk about that for a second for people that don't know what that means because these are terms that a lot of people they're like, what did he just say?
Yeah,
Cost appreciation.
yeah, it's the most important term that I like to tell people not to confuse them. Replacement cost is how it sounds. They're going to replace it at cost.
Right.
So you buy a 2000, it's about 2017, you're going to get the value of the 2017.
Right.
You
Because it's
have,
appreciated.
but
Right.
not as much as depreciation,
Okay.
ACV.
Okay. Excuse me. Okay.
That's a little bit of a difference. They won't quite pay this price, but they'll pay the value. Actual cash values where you have a 2017. Now they take the depreciation 7 years off besides, so you don't pay as much for the insurance, but you don't get as
Mm,
much. And that's the main thing with insurance. A lot of people have to know you get what you paid for, and that's
mm,
why it's good to have an agent to go through it and say, "Hey, here's a price. Here's a price if you get replacement costs. Here's a price if you get actual cash value. Which
mm,
one do you want? Which one do you prefer? Which one can you afford?"
mm.
That's the main thing. What's affordable to you? And you can always, what people don't realize, you can always change stuff. You can change coverages. You can do a lot of things like that. So that's why it's important to have an agent that will actually talk to you and would answer the phone. And I give people my cell phone. Not too many agents do that. Anyone
It's
can
right.
call
It's
me
right here.
to my cell phone.
Hmm.
This is my office.
Oh yeah, that's
I
your
have I
office.
have my cell phone that people
Mm,
have, and it's only me, one man show. I don't have a secretary. I want my clients to hear everything from me, not third party, third mouth.
Hmm.
So that's how I operate. So it's very easy. And you could actually literally just take a snapshot of the receipt and text it to me, and I can get you a quote in no time. And then the price can vary, but it won't a lot of times that much. But we'll just use what's most common sense.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm going to give folks an example. So I bought a boat. I have a nice Ranger boat, and I wanted to make sure it was fully insured because I have a lot of gear in it. And recently, what happened throughout technology, there's a lot of advancements in technology in fishing. My boat came with certain things that were standard, and then I've upgraded. I had a new trolling motor. I had a new Minn Ultrax, which is an awesome freaking trolling motor with spot lock. Freaking amazing, amazing. It was very expensive. I remember I was like, wait a minute, I have to call Rick because I'm putting a few thousand more dollars, and I ended up getting new units, my Hummingbird units, which are basically used to sight imaging, depth finder, and stuff like that. So I was thousands of dollars of upgrade, and I remember calling you and I said, hey Rick, I'm doing this to my boat. What do I need to show you? And you're like, I just need the receipts of what you paid for. You're like, show me the receipts. So I sent you everything just like you told me, and that was it. And my insurance didn't go up too much.
No, it
Just
didn't.
it was like I don't know, like maybe 20, $30, maybe. I think
Yeah, it wasn't that
it
much.
wasn't that
How
much. It was maybe
much?
like $40 for the, and this is for the year,
Right.
for the entire year. And I was like, wow, man, that's not that much. And it covered everything. Trolling motor, the motor, trolling motor, the boat, all my equipment. I have a lot of rods and reels, man, a lot, like a lot, thousands and thousands of dollars of gear, and you insured all of it. And it was super easy. I didn't really have to do much besides send you some receipts, and that was it.
Right. And some people may say, why even add that? Because you're in a boat, right?
Right?
What's going to happen? You're on a boat. Well, what happens is when Ray told me this, he goes lake to lake.
Yeah, I travel a lot.
So
Yeah,
you know how it is. Now you get into an accident, right? There goes your boat. There goes everything you have in there. It's
yeah,
gone. If you don't have it insured,
yeah.
you're not covered. So that's and I think boats, pontoons, and stuff like that's real inexpensive
It is.
because people don't travel as much. Some people do more than others. So that's probably why it is. We have I call them toys, right?
Yeah,
Fish houses,
yeah. Toys. Yeah.
pontoons, boats,
ATVs,
ATVs, all
RV,
that stuff.
the RVs.
Right. And what really makes a difference now when you put your home and your auto together, we talk about that later, you're getting big discounts. Now that will knock off literally $100 to $150 a year off of that. And that's why yours was so inexpensive because you got your home and your auto, and that's why that didn't go up that much.
Right, right,
That is
exactly.
part of the reason.
Yeah, because I bundle everything.
Right.
I bundle, and on top of that, I have an umbrella.
He has an
I have
umbrella.
an umbrella
It's a
policy.
lawyer. It's a
So,
cheap lawyer.
so that's. I remember Rick. I'm talking to Rick, and he's like, "Hey, man, I got this product." You weren't trying to sell me on it. You were just educating me and informing me. And I heard of umbrella policies before, and it's like, Ray, all your stuff is insured. All this is insured. However, I have this umbrella policy that if you exhaust the cost here, I have an umbrella that'll cover this beyond cover that plus $1 million. And I said, really? I was like, he's like the cheapest lawyer you're ever gonna have, man. And I was like, that sounds good. Like, let me get that umbrella policy, and it feels good, man, because if anything were to happen, I know all my stuff. I'm literally overinsured. I am, but I like that I'm overinsured, and it's not expensive, man. It's not. I mean, I don't think it is, in my opinion. But talk about that umbrella. Talk about that because that's really important for folks out there that don't know what that product is. Can you talk a little bit about that? Because
Yeah.
I love that. I love that product, man. I really do. It just gives me peace of mind, man.
Well, first, I want to talk about what Ray just said. He's probably overinsured.
Yeah.
And him and I had this conversations before.
Hmm.
And again, it's his money, his policies. We went over everything. And he says, basically, you can say what you want. We're going to do this. I am going to be overinsured, and it's okay. There's nothing wrong with that.
Sure.
It's better being underinsured, overinsured than uninsured.
One
Sorry,
hundred
any day.
percent, man.
So, anyways, what it does, it covers the cost, exhausts the cost of the other. Like if you have, I don't want to get into too details because this is
But
getting into deep.
yeah.
100, 300 for your bodily injury over the 300, which everyone has, the million covers. So, in other words, if you have a lot of assets,
Mm-hmm.
like what's in your boat. And if you're involved with people,
Mm-hmm.
you want to have for sure an umbrella because four people are in your boat. Guess
Right.
what? Four of those people happen to get hurt. You never know.
You
Guess
never
what? You
know.
got that extra $1 million to cover you.
Right.
So basically, it's a real cheap. I think yours is just give it approximately sometimes like 350. Depends what y'all have a
A
year
year.
for a
Yeah.
whole year. So
That's the cheapest $1 million I've ever had.
right. That's a thing. And I always call it a cheap lawyer.
Yeah, it is.
It,
It is.
it's
It's a
it's
super cheap lawyer.
it's really cheap. And again, I always tell I get these conversations a lot,
Yeah.
and I leave it up to the person. I just talked to a gal today just about that, and she says, "Rick, what do you really think?" She lives by herself. She lives in a mobile home. She don't hardly drive. She don't have people come over, and she had a vehicle with just liability.
Oh wow.
Okay, so I said, "Here's what you do. You take that vehicle, have full coverage. It would cost $200 more for full coverage. Guess what? Her umbrella was 200 some dollars. I said, you don't need that umbrella. Take
Hmm.
that $200, put it more into the auto, and we'll put 250 to 500. So she has big coverage in case she
Yeah.
gets hurt.
Yep. Yep.
But now she has full coverage with her vehicle.
Hmm.
And this is going to be a new client of mine. She was, I had no idea.
Hmm.
And I talked to her today about 45 minutes. We went over a lot of things. And the gospel truth, the fact is, our price compared, she had 11 other quotes, and it was between me and another person.
Hmm.
And we were within literally $10 of the person. She
Hmm.
goes, since you spent all this time with me and now I know what's going on, I'm going to go with you.
Right.
So that's where that pays off.
That
And I don't
that.
mind doing it. And I feel good about it. And she feels good about now about her coverages. She didn't know. She had no
Hmm.
idea. So sometimes people get intimidated, but I tell people, I'll come to your place. You come to my office. We can meet somewhere.
Hmm.
Or if you don't want to do anything, you just want insurance, that's fine too.
Hmm.
I leave it up to the person. But there are a lot of scenarios. I'm having more and more people. We had this conversation before. They're
Hmm.
coming to my office that want to know exactly more about coverages because let's face it, pricing now is getting crazy. It's up, down. It never used to be like that. So now people are looking at their statements and they're just asking a simple question:
Right.
why did my insurance go up?
Right.
And a lot of times you go to certain insurance companies, they don't answer the phone. They have an 800 number. So there's something to have value that you can call someone that'll get back with you literally within. I very seldom 24 hours. I'm within hopefully within an hour, but I usually try and get back with people and leave me a voicemail. They can
Sure.
always stop by the office. I've
Yeah.
stopped there. Don't
Yeah.
matter.
Yeah.
We can meet somewhere. That's important.
Yeah.
And
It's
especially when you own a home, especially because there's a lot of stuff in there
yeah.
that people don't know. A
Yeah.
lot of people don't know, and I didn't know until I got into this business. So
Yeah. And I think this is why these conversations, these podcasts are so important because what does insurance have to do with fishing? Everything.
oh,
If
a
you own a
lot.
lake home, if you own a pontoon, or let's say you don't own a lake home,
Yeah,
let's just say you have a vehicle and you have a couple kayaks, or you have you just want to buy a boat, nothing too expensive. Now you have the confidence. You're like, oh man, I thought insurance was going to be super expensive for that boat. It's only that much a year. Oh, that's nothing.
right,
And this is important because our communities, again, the communities of color, don't know this stuff.
right,
You know what I mean? They're not used to it. I've been blessed to have boats as you know recently, throughout the years, but I didn't grow up like that. I come from working class family. I didn't grow up, my parents didn't have a boat growing
Yeah.
up. I didn't grow up on a lake. But as I got older and I started acquiring certain things, the first thing my father told me, make sure you're insured, make sure the insurance is good, and I was like, what? So it's really important if you're going to make that investment of that asset, it has to be covered correctly. And with Rick, the way you go about explaining this to people where they feel comfortable, they feel like they're getting a lot of information, the right information about what they're putting their money into. Why it costs that much. Why it costs what the cost is. I mean, you're able to explain that to people, so that's really cool, man.
Right. There was a instance the other day. Um, they had their coverages for their auto bodily injury 30/60, and the person had asked me there, what is this number? It was with another insurance company. And I said, well, the first $30,000 is your bodily injury. They'll cover you. 60,000 is will cover the other person, or whoever else is in there. And that person made a comment and said, "Wow, that don't go very far. If I would get hurt, $30,000 ain't gonna get me nowadays in the hospital. Ain't gonna get me nowhere." I go, "You're right." So I said, let me just show you something. So I put 50,000, 100,000 as the next coverage.
Hmm.
Is $15 more
Right,
for 6 months.
right.
Then I went 100 to 300. It's like $35. And they're like, that's all I can afford. I go, whatever you can afford. I just want you to be above that 30/60.
Yeah, and for folks that don't know, by state law, 30/60 is the law.
That's the lowest limit you
Yeah,
can go. And a
right.
lot of people don't know that. They don't.
30,000 and $60,000. That's what we're talking about, folks, by state law. And people get that. They're like, oh man, my insurance is super cheap. Yeah, but you're not properly covered. That's why it's so cheap. You know
Right.
what I mean? And a lot of young people, they'll get the minimum. Minimum. And I'm like, man, that's not good. But because it's not just about you. What if you hurt somebody?
That's a thing. And, going back, I've already had clients, though, that said, Rick, even that amount of money, I just can't do it. It's okay. We'll go to 30/60, but you know what? If you could just do us both a favor, save a little bit, and then 3 months from now, maybe let's raise it.
Mm,
So even if they can't do it right away, and sometimes I get it, sometimes we're on a bind, and that does make a difference. But the point is, we can change it eventually to where I tell people, if you can, just try and save a little bit if you can. If you can't, you can't. That's just the way it is. But
yeah,
if you can, let's try and get that. Let's raise that up, even though it's not that much more money. We'll do it. So
yeah, that's awesome, man. So I appreciate the that. I know that's a we gave folks a lot there. That's fine. But again, back to the question of if I'm interested in buying a boat, excuse me, or a pontoon, that's all they need is VIN number,
serial number,
serial number,
how
and
much you want it insured for,
right.
those things will all populate in, and then of course I need your name, your address, stuff like that. But and then the coverages, I give a basic coverage, and before we go forward, I explain it, and then if we want to go higher or lower, I kind of go in the middle when I quote it, and
Hmm.
then we'll figure out your financial needs, whichever works best. And a lot of times you go a little bit higher. We're not talking a lot of money.
No, we're not.
So I want
No,
to make sure that you are insured properly, and you'll be aware of it after I go through it,
right.
explain it. You'll know exactly where you're at,
Yeah.
and and it always works out well. People are just really surprised, and I'll use you for example. We
Hmm.
talked about the other day. I said I got a client. He has two pontoons. Ray's like, oh, they're nice pontoons.
Right. Right. You told me the brands. I was like, wow, that's nice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and both of them combined were 377 a year.
I couldn't believe it, man, when you said that to me.
Although he's got his home and his auto
Everything bundled,
also
bundled up.
bundled, your umbrella, so
Hmm.
that helped bring the price. Well, that's not why he did it, but that's why the price is lower.
Yeah.
But the point being, it's very inexpensive for boats.
No, and I appreciate you saying that because I was shocked. So you, Rick, your agency could do obviously boats, pontoons, ATVs,
Yeah,
right? Campers,
campers.
um,
Traveling trailers.
traveling trailers, fifth wheels,
Yep.
um,
Fish houses.
fish houses. Man, I mean, you pretty much can insure a lot of stuff for people out there in the community that kayaks,
Yep.
canoes, all that
All
stuff.
that
Yeah,
stuff.
everything's insurable.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? That's amazing, man. That's really, really, really good. You know, and the, again, no one has these conversations. I listen to a lot of podcasts, and no one ever had talked about like the cost of things and like what does it take to insure certain things.
Yeah.
You know, and that's why I wanted to do this show, man. So again, I really appreciate you like breaking this down because now we're gonna have our viewers be like, "Oh man, like I didn't know it was that cheap, or I didn't know it was that
Right.
inexpensive."
Yeah.
You know, and then on top of that, while you're giving them like, if you are quoting somebody for a boat or a pontoon or a camper, say, "Hey," I would encourage people to say, "Hey, you know, since you're doing this, why don't you can you quote me on my house and car too? Like, I just want to see what it would be and if I can save some money." It's free. It doesn't cost you nothing. It's a quote.
That's right. And a lot of times, what I'll do if I quote like just the boat, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'll give you that quote and I'll say, okay, let's just say you have a house and a vehicle. And I won't quote the house and the vehicle itself, but I'll put it into the quote where it will tell you how much you save by bundling.
Bundling the yeah, the difference between just a boat and the boat, house, car.
Right. And you'll see the change in price. In fact, I call them the toys,
Mm-hmm.
right? Boat fish houses. It's what Foremost specializes in that.
Mm.
It's a farmer's product. The only thing I'm upset about, they allow some other insurance companies to buy it.
Mm.
So
Mm.
you may have Foremost already
Mm.
as we're speaking.
Mm-hmm.
So what I do then
Foremost insurance.
for most insurance.
Yeah.
So what I do then is, let's say you want to do your auto and home, we just can transfer that over,
Mm.
and then you get the discount.
Mm. That's awesome.
So you can always just transfer that over.
Okay.
So that works well, and it's very their pricing's really good,
Huh.
really is.
That's awesome, man. Oh God. I I have to ask you this question because I remember you telling me the story about this, and it's funny, man. Super, super funny. Um, I want you to tell I want you to tell people, our listeners, about the guy. He's one of your clients. The guy who called you about his car being shut up. Remember that dude? You remember that story you told me? He called you and he said, "Hey Rick, does my insurance cover bullet holes or something like that?" You
Oh man,
you got to tell the story, bro. That is some crazy shit. Yeah.
there's a lot of crazy stuff going on, especially nowadays. I mean, they, I, shit.
Please tell the story. You can't make this.
I almost have to. At least we can say he had it covered.
Oh
He
God.
had full coverage, but um,
So walk folks through this story because this is a great story, man.
it's the one where
Oh.
he had his. Which one was it? Because there was a
Were the
couple crazy.
cops? Were the cops? And then the cop shot his shot. Yeah,
Oh,
that one. Yeah.
okay.
Even like there's a few.
This is crazy. So a guy calls me up, and actually a lady called me up and said, "Hey, so and so, one of your customers is in trouble."
Hmm.
So you probably won't hear from him. I want to go through. He had a mobile home with me and two vehicles.
Mm-hmm.
So she goes, I want to make sure that the payment's through. I go, you know what? He's covered because we have him through auto pay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So she was okay, fine. Well, I'm just going to tell you he's in trouble. So all of a sudden he calls me up, and he calls me up from the jail. And he's like, hey, Rick,
He was in jail when he called you.
yeah, he's yeah.
Wow.
He goes, Rick, I just got to tell you something. I'm a little bit of trouble. I would say. I go, what? Long story short, I go, what happened, man? He goes, well, my wife had one of my vehicles. We share it, and she left, so she was going to take it, and I won't let her take it. And cops came. They're going to take the vehicle, and I said, "You ain't taking this vehicle." So he started shooting at him.
So your client told you're not taking this
Yeah,
vehicle and started shooting at the
at the
police.
cops,
Okay, please continue.
literally.
Hmm.
So that went on for a while, the wild corral, right?
So the cops, I started shooting back.
Yep,
Okay,
shot back, and somehow it got into to where his windshield got taken out by bullets.
right.
So he calls me up a week later. He goes, Rick, I want to file a claim. I go, how do you file a claim in jail? First of all, my windshield's out. He said,
The cops
what?
shot my
The
windshield.
windshield out. So I want to know if the farmers will cover it. I said, here's where you got to go to the claims department. People, as I'm telling you, I have nothing to do with the claims department. I'll help you out. I'll get you a claims department, but claims department's a whole different deal. So anyway, long story short, but he expected farmers insurance to pay for his insurance while he was shooting at cops.
Hmm. You can't make this. You
So
can't make this up.
people, man, we could be here for a while, but
I know you got some stories,
there's a
man.
long more story about it. But yeah, it's
Tell us. You got to share another story, man. Because, dude, I remember talking to you, and I couldn't. I almost dropped my phone.
okay. Here's another one. When someone calls me up and says I have a guy on the phone and his girlfriend are on the policy. Who's ever on the main policy is I have to follow the directions of what they say.
Sure, because they're the policy
They're the
holder, the
policy,
decision
the
maker.
primary. There's a
Right.
primary, secondary. So the primary calls me up and he says, you know what? Can you take off one of the vehicles? Oh yeah, sure, no problem, man. I'll take it off, and also take her off. We had a fight, didn't work out. You know, I said okay. So I documented everything,
Hmm.
made sure everything was that I had myself covered too, and make sure the stories
Sure. Sure.
go in
Sure.
line.
Yep.
So, anyways, I get a call from the gal. Hey Rick, yeah, we got a problem here. I go, what's that? She says my vehicle is just trashed, and I want to file a claim. I said, uh-oh, Reggie. He took it off the policy a week ago.
Wow.
And he went out there and just trashed it.
He assaulted her car.
Yes.
Holy
Where
crap.
it was totaled.
Man,
And that's still going on, by the way.
that's psycho.
That is, I mean, there's crazy
Ongoing.
stuff,
Oh
man.
my god.
So, you know, the question may be, people may be saying, well, why didn't you call her? I never had her phone number
Because she was
on the
not the primary.
policy.
She was on a
Right.
primary.
But if I would have had another phone number, I may have called her, being that I'm taking her off, say, hey, by the way, you know, I'm taking you off.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I didn't have her number, nor did I have her
Contact information.
contact, no contact information, no email,
Wow.
nothing. So, so that's still going on too.
Oh my god, man. That's crazy, dude.
So there, yeah, there is some crazy stuff going on, man, and it's just crazy.
Oh man. What are some uh, let's talk about some of the stereotypes, negative stereotypes that insurance agents have. We've talked about these before. Let's address it. You know, you wanted to talk about it on the show here, and like how people certain people are like, you know what I mean. Like people in the community are like, oh man. What are some things that you listened to or observed or that are just false or not very accurate? You know what I mean? Can you talk a little bit about like some perpetual stereotypes of insurance agents that people have?
There's, you know, everyone says insurance agent, they get the look, right? A lot of things that upsets me is that most of the stuff, like pricing,
Hmm.
I can't control.
The market controls pricing.
Right. The computer that I put all the system in, you know, it's based off of your credit, your vehicle, all this. Some of the stuff shouldn't be based off of, but it is, and that kind of upsets me the most sometimes. What I can do is put you in the best position once you tell me how your financial situation is, what you can and can't afford, and just give a little bit of a recommendation. So I think that's way overrated as to God, this agent's trying to rip me off. No agent wants to lose you. No agent wants the policies to go up. No
Right.
one wants it. I would rather make less money. I'd rather have the policies go down and make less money. I'll
Yeah.
tell you that right now. Any day of the week.
Yeah.
I'd rather have that. So I think that's, I think that, I think the agent's kind of, that's unfair.
Yeah. To the agent. To the agent.
I think it is. I think it's unfair sometimes. Thank God. I should have taken a picture of this. We were the second best for claims as far as lease complaints.
Hmm.
Farmers was number two.
Hmm.
Um, and the other thing that sometimes frustrates me, or frustrates people, sometimes in the claim process, I have no power of that. That's
Hmm.
a whole different sector. Now, if I need to go to the plate, yes, I will. But thank God with farmers, I don't have to do that.
And you
It's usually
advocate
done.
you advocate well for your
I
clients.
advocate. I'll tell them, hey, look, I already, I had an instant, we're all human, right?
Hmm.
Where I did not put rental in the
Hmm.
vehicle. I forgot to put it on there, and she called. Of course, she had a crash, need to rent the vehicle, and the claims came and said, hey, she doesn't have that. I go, you know what? No, I dropped the ball.
Hmm.
You guys do what you got to do. Take off my commission. I don't care. I dropped the ball.
Hmm. Yeah, and that's the thing, man.
I
It's
dropped the ball.
and we appreciate the honesty, the vulnerability. I'm like, hey, I'm human, man. I made mistakes, and you are one of the top agents, here in Minnesota, and that doesn't happen by accident. That happens by hard work. That happens by having just great work ethic, integrity, doing all the right things, helping people in the community, not just selling them insurance.
Right.
I never look at someone like you, Rick, as a salesperson of insurance. You're a facilitator. You're very well educated in this, and you have a lot of experience, and that's what you bring. You bring value to people, where you're like, hey, you don't need that. You need this. You don't need all this other stuff. And I think that we need more of that, especially our communities of color. We need more of that, where you walk people through. This is what this means. This is what this means, and this is going to cost this because of this X and Y reason, and that's what people appreciate about you. You know.
Yeah, there's a couple instances just lately. Now it's more towards the winter. What a lot of people didn't know is their vehicles. You have two vehicles. Rick, I don't hardly drive this one. Well, you know what? Let's put it in storage. Well, I don't want to bother you. No, if you're going to drive for a month,
Or two,
you got to let me know.
or if you're a snowbird,
Yeah, you
right?
just let me know. I take it off. I put it in storage. And storage a lot of times is probably around $80 per 6 months at the most.
Mm-hmm.
And yet you're covered, not when you're driving, but you're covered. But those are examples that, especially the new people that I've had, I'll tell someone, look, you're the only person. Why do you have three vehicles? Well, I just leave this one here. I don't drive it during the winter. I drive there, blah blah blah. So I'll put it in storage. They didn't even know that.
And you save them. You just save them a bunch of
You
money.
save them money. That's right. You save them a lot
You
of
save
money
them a
by that.
bunch of money, and and that's what people need. They need to be educated on. Like, hey, if you don't use it, just put it in storage. It's going to be less money a month or per year. And you're like, oh my god, you just saved me this amount of dollars.
Right.
Thank you, I appreciate that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Where I really, really save people money, and no one does this, and it drives me crazy. What costs you the most money is if you have lapse of coverage. Lapse of coverage means you have no insurance for, let's just say, a month. However, you couldn't afford it, you didn't have a vehicle at the time. So, what I tell people, let's just say they're like, you know what, Rick, I'm not going to drive this for a month. We put you as a non owner. So, you still have insurance and it's really cheap. So, that 1 month you just pay as being a non owner.
Mm,
So, it's cheap because you don't have a vehicle or anything, but yet you're getting insured. Now, when your vehicle comes, you're paying a normal price.
mm,
Where if you have lapse of coverage, if you're paying 600, you have a month, let's just say, of lapse coverage, that 600 is going to 1200. It's almost going
jeez.
to double. That's no kidding. Because I
Wow.
do a lot of quoting. So I keep telling people, if for some reason you know you're not going to have a vehicle or drive it for a month, 2 months, we got to do this. You got to state that you're insured. And you see so many people, because I quote a lot during the day, that have lapse of coverage that didn't even know about that.
Wow.
I said, just be as a non-owner. What's that? And I explain to people.
Right.
So there's a lot of stuff out there
Yeah.
where person can really help you save money that way.
Yeah. The other thing too is what people don't realize, if you don't have a home, but if you have an apartment, you have renter's insurance, how much your insurance goes down with renter's insurance.
I tell people that they just have one vehicle and they live with their mom,
Right.
right? And they're paying for
They
theirs.
live with the parents, yeah.
I tell them, here's what you're going to do. You're going to have renter's insurance. Because when you put renter's insurance on there, a lot of times, believe it or not, it's cheaper. And not only that, if something were to happen, you have $10,000 worth of personal property.
Right.
Well, my parents will pay. Well, you know what? They don't have to know. You got 10,000 worth of personal property because that's about the amount where the price don't change. And renter's insurance is like $12 a month. And it's a lot of times cheaper to have renters. And
Hmm.
all you have to do is sign a little more documentation.
Right.
That's it.
It just takes a few more documents,
That's all it does.
save yourself a few
To
bucks.
save some money. If nothing else, it always is about the same price, and at least you're covered that way.
Mm,
At the very least, it
mm,
depends on what the cost of insurance is, how it matters. But
mm,
overall, I've not seen a policy where I didn't put renters on
mm.
that it was you were better off.
Yeah, with renter's insurance. Yeah, no, I remember learning that from you years ago, and I was like, man, that's awesome. Like just that
Yeah,
simple little thing you can do can save you a lot of money in the long run.
right.
You know what I mean? So, Rick, so for our audience, if they're interested in buying, what like I like the word the toys,
Yeah,
like want to buy toys, whether it's a kayak, ATV. Someone might ask you, "Hey Rick, do you insure golf carts?"
we do.
Really, you can insure
I
those.
was going to say that go karts too.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't know you can insure those. You
Jet
can.
skis, go
Jet
kart.
skis, yeah,
Yeah,
that's another one.
mopeds.
Mopeds,
Yeah,
really? Motorcycles and
more
stuff.
everything. Yeah,
Wow, that's cool, man.
yeah.
So you guys, I mean, because of farmers, there's you guys insure just a wide variety of stuff.
Well, the advantage we have with farmers is that we have farmers as a home policy and we have foremost. So what I do is, and foremost is owned, a subsidiary of farmers. So
Yeah.
what I do is, I don't care who you are, sometimes your home is going to go up to a certain price that you're like, I always tell people, just please just give me a call, give me a chance. So then if it's too high, farmers, I quote foremost
On the other side of
on the other side with
yeah.
this with the same coverages. A lot of times it's a lower price,
Mm,
and I do the opposite with the auto. We have farmers, we got Bristol West, and whichever one's the cheapest with the same coverages, I just go here to there, and that way a lot of people don't have to go shopping all the time.
mm.
And there's not every single time it works, but it works a lot.
What are some things that people don't know about insurance that they should know? You got a couple things you can share? Like you like anything.
I think the main thing is, I think I said it before,
Yeah.
but insurance, you get what you pay for.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to pay more, you have more.
Mm,
If you want to pay less, you have less. I think that's the most important thing to know. And it's interesting about you mentioned the boats a lot of times.
yeah. Yeah.
The boats are people take pride in that, man. And I notice with boats,
Yeah, dude.
they are never underinsured with a boat. No one ever is.
Hell no.
No, they're never. I don't care who it is.
Yeah,
No,
dude.
you
It
give
could be a
me
crappy horse.
you give me the best coverage,
Yeah.
whatever you can with both, and that is the gospel truth. It's
Yeah.
like I've noticed that with people. They
It's
really take pride in their boats or motors. They're toys, I call it.
yeah.
They really take pride in that. They really want good coverage.
One of the many things that you sell, it's cool to have um the your portfolio is very vast on the things you can help people with.
Yeah.
I want to transition real quick to we have a lot of folks that follow us that are entrepreneurs or want to be entrepreneurs. You also sell business insurance
Yes.
because you insure me with my businesses, and that's another thing that could be really intimidating, dude. Is like the unknown, right, of business insurance. Can you talk a little bit about that? Like, if someone has a business or is thinking about starting a business, what should they be doing? Should they be when should they contact you? Um, like, walk me through that, Rick, for the community, the folks that are listening.
Business, I'm going to say this though, and don't get intimidated. It is a little more complex. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. But basically, to really run a quote, to get a quote, is again, name, address, what you're doing, um, how many employees, all the basic questions. There's just more of them, but they're basic questions that you would know when you're running your business
Right.
and what type of business it is, and that you're going to get audited and all that kind of stuff. And you have the usually the company takes care of that side of it,
Sure.
but yeah, the commercial is I think you make that as hard as what it can be, but it's easy as can be too. I think if you have the information, the basic information is pretty easy to get a quote there too.
Yeah. And I mean, your agency handles and does a lot of business with local businesses, currently and stuff. So, like, locally, if someone comes to you, hey, Rick, can you give me a quote on my business? Or I'm thinking about starting this business. You can help them out.
Yeah, we have a wide range of appetites.
Okay.
And again, the coverages, that's later on, because there's sometimes businesses, whatever business you're with, will tell you what coverages you have to have,
Hmm.
for example. So, um, and if you've already had a business, now that's really simple, easy. All you have to do is get me the debit page, and I basically copy what you got on there and quote it.
Like a declar. It's like a. I think I.
Declaration
Yeah, the
page. It's a lot
declaration
of times
page.
there's just a couple of the pages you need. There are a lot of times there might be 100 pages. A lot of them you don't need, but it's just the main page is a couple pages um, that gives the coverages. So it's pretty easy to.
That's awesome. No, that's great. Yeah, we have a lot of folks that are business owners, and it's good to shop around and call Rick and be like, hey, Rick, I'm with XY insurance agency. Hey, I saw you on the a race podcast, on Baztec podcast. Hey, can I come in and see you? Can we do a quote? Yeah, sure. Just all you need is bring your declaration page, or you have it on your phone digitally. Email it to me,
Yeah.
and we can go through the quote together.
Yeah, it's really simple. I like sitting down and doing it together, just what you said there. They can see exactly what's going on. Again, they
Right.
don't have to, but a lot of businessmen do like that. They want to be right there.
That's awesome. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's cool, man. Yeah. So for folks, Rick, I could sit here and talk to you all day long, man. And if folks in our community want to get a hold of you, how do they get? What's the best way to get a hold of you? Can you share some of your information? I know you're an awesome sponsor of ours, a great supporter, which you're on our board here, which is great of awesome supporters and sponsors. How could folks in the community get a hold of you, man?
Right here is you have the information here, but this is my office number, the 763-515-7220. And like I said early on in the cast here, I said I give out my cell phone, 320-980-2142. That's the reason I give that out, because I can text through that number. Um,
Sure.
so I'd be more than happy, and through email, however you want, you can go into my website here, which is right across here, or my email. I'm very easy to get a hold of. Don't be afraid. Leave me a voicemail, and you'll see. I'll get back to you real quick.
Awesome. And again, this is the Ricky Geislinger Farmers Agency. And phone number, your cell phone directly is 320 area code 980-2142.
Right in my office out of Maple Grove.
Yeah, out of Maple Grove. That's awesome, man. And you also, oh yeah, one more thing before we go here. for folks in the community, you're going to be starting. You had mentioned you're going to be starting to do seminars and workshops.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yes, we are.
yeah. Talk a little bit about that. Yeah,
Um, Actually, it was um, Ray here that's been kind of bringing that up, saying, there's a lot of people I know around when we're doing these things that don't know a lot of things about insurances.
yeah,
And we talked about it, and definitely we'll get dates here in the future,
yeah,
and we are going to do real easy, simple Simon, easy stuff about insurance.
yeah.
Really easy, and we're going to start out with home auto toys, and then we'll also have the commercial at the end. We might as well do them all at once while we're all there,
Right,
and we'll leave the commercial at the end. So therefore, for people that don't do commercial, they can go if they want or stick around, have questions.
right.
But it'll be well worth your time. Um, because anytime you can learn anything, and again, as far as a quote, the easiest way that I tell people, all I need is a snapshot of your ID. It has your name, it's got your address, it has your date of birth. Take a snapshot of it. You don't have to, but
That's a
that's
super easy
it's an
way.
easy way, and I
Yeah.
can get you a quote like that. And what happens is if you are insured, which most people are, right?
Mm-hmm.
Your auto and home it will let me know how many
Mm.
autos you have, how many people are on the policy. So then I can quote right off that. You don't have to give me any VIN numbers. You have to give me that stuff as long as it's in the system that you have now. So it's so easy. So literally 10 minutes. You give me that 10 minutes, I can get you a quote on both of
Yeah. Home auto.
them, home auto, and then if you got your boat, your toys,
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome.
whatever it is. So
Yeah. Cool, man.
um,
That's awesome. That's
I
awesome.
know a lot of people are doing that now. They're just texting me the ID, and
Yeah.
it's easy.
And you've been busy.
I've been extremely busy, extremely busy.
Mm. That's awesome. So for folks in the community, again, just a recap. If you are looking for a awesome, dedicated, super cool guy that you can work with and you need insurance and you want a trusted person in the community, Rick Geislinger Agency, he's your man. This guy right here for boats, auto, home, your toys, uh, all that stuff, man. Call Rick. He'll take care of you. Again, that phone number is 320-980-2142. His email is right down there as well as a website. I think it's I don't know if I put your website. I think it's just your phone, your office number, and your email. And I think it's great that you're doing seminars and workshops. These are free too for the community coming up in the near future here.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. Yeah, that's great, man. So, dude, thank you so much, man. It's been great, man.
And one final note.
Yeah, please.
I will. I know a lot of people don't think so. If it's after 5 o'clock, no problem. 5, 6, 7, 8, whatever it is to help. We got on Saturday, we got to do it on Saturday. If we got it on Sunday, we got to do it on Sunday.
Yeah,
Whatever works for you. I'm not saying it work every weekend, but if we have to get it done, we got to do it. We got to do it.
yeah,
So
cool.
I'm there for you, nights, weekends, days,
Yeah, cool.
whatever works.
Awesome. Well, Rick, thanks, man.
Yeah, it's great being here, man.
Yeah, thank you so much for being here, folks. We'll see you out there on Lake Harriet. Check out our upcoming BIPOC fishing event this Saturday, Lake Harriet, with the Sierra Club. We'll see you out there. And Rick, thanks a lot. Thanks again, man. Appreciate it,
Yeah,
brother.
it's great being here, man.
Yeah, man. Thank you. Salud, my friend. Cheers. Salud. All right.